Hey guys, this is Doug with Adamant Diamonds, and this is a little out of the ordinary, but I had a couple of clients come in this week with watches that they wanted me to examine, if real, appraise, and what I've got here are 3 different samples of watches that have been brought in. They're all Rolexes. I've got a stainless steel men's Daytona with a black face. I have a men's Datejust two-tone, so stainless and gold, and I have a men's Submariner stainless steel with a black face and a red and black dial. And I'll start with the Submariner. This is one of the most commonly forged Rolex watches on the market. A couple of things I look for in the Submariner. Number 1, I look at the Cyclops eye, which is the bubble that is on top of the date. Cyclops and Rolex, genuine Rolex, will magnify the date about 2.5 times and literally take up the majority of that bubble when you look at it. This particular watch, when I looked at it, I could see the date and it was magnified, but I could still see quite a bit of the face of the watch on either side of it, even in the bubble, and that's red flag number 1. The other thing I actually noticed right when I took it from the client's hand, and it was a little surprising for me to hear that he had taken it to a couple of other jewelers to get them to look at it. No one had mentioned this, but it seemed light. Now I'm my specialty is diamonds, so I'm not claiming to know everything about watches here, but that's a pretty obvious sign right there. The weight of the watch. These high-end, well-made watches have a lot going on inside, a lot of guts. And that means that the face of the watch is going to have some weight to it. So it felt a little on the light side. So I had the Cyclops, a little light. The next obvious one is the sweeping of the second hand. The 25 jewel movement of a Rolex causes the second hand, rather than, well, it does tick, but there are so many ticks within each second that at a quick glance, the second hand appears to sweep very smoothly. And that's not a surefire way to tell whether something's real or not with these forgery Rolexes, because they've got some aftermarket movements and fake Rolex, even perpetual movements that can replicate that sweeping motion. This one is on the borderline. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be sweeping too much. But I've got the Cyclops. I've got the weight of the watch. I'm suspect about the sweeping of the second hand. One of the other things I look for is I pop out the stem, pull it all the way out, grab a loop. You don't need a loop to notice this, but I want to see if there is a gasket, like a security gasket for moisture and water to prevent it from getting in to the guts of the watch, and this one does not have it. And that's a pretty, it just has the threaded neck here, and that's another sign of a fake watch, a fake Rolex. And then lastly, one of the other things I'll actually look for on Rolexes, especially Submariners that have the dial, the rotating dial, is I want to count the number of clicks from dead center over to a quarter. On a genuine, authentic Rolex Submariner, it takes about 120 clicks to get the bezel all the way around. So 180 degrees, it's about 120 clicks. That means 30 clicks per quarter. This particular watch, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have 15 clicks for a quarter of the watch, so I'm short. You can cut that number in half. I have 60 clicks to get all the way around. So one of the other things I noticed actually is that the hologram, or the sticker on the back of the watch, is not a hologram. Now that can wear a little bit and sometimes be deceiving. Even genuine Rolexes can throw you with that one. But between the Cyclops not magnifying, there's no gasket, the bezel for a quarter around the face of the watch is 15 clicks instead of 30. I'm guessing that one's fake, much to the chagrin of the client. All right, with this Datejust, let's see, this two-tone Datejust, again, same thing. I don't feel the weight that I would expect when I pick this up. Now the dial, the Cyclops on this one is definitely appearing authentic. The date is taking up the entire bubble, and that's a good sign. Let me pop out the stem, take a quick look, see if I can find a gasket. Nope, no gasket on this one either, so just a threaded neck. I want to look at the face of the watch and the hour ticks. Yeah, they're not perfectly aligned, which is indicative of forgery sometimes. And then lastly, which is obvious on this one, the second hand is definitely ticking, it's not sweeping. So, yeah, it's got a perpetual movement. I can hear it moving around inside, but it feels sloppy and loose, and this is definitely not a 25 jewel movement. So, that's a Fugazi as well. And then on to the Daytona. The Daytona, this watch has got some weight. Now, it's a bigger watch than the other two, but this one has some weight and has potential for being real. So I'm going to look for a couple of other things. Number one, the Daytona has 3 subdials in it, and I want to see if those work. It's a common occurrence for the fake Rolexes or replica Rolexes to have all the proper dials, all the proper buttons, but only the hour, minute, and second hand work. And when you go to press these secondary dials, nothing happens. And that's exactly what's happening here. Nothing else is moving. Okay? Let me check the gasket. Pop this out. This one does appear to have a gasket, but the gasket is not on a, it's not on a different plane, so there's a chance it was put there for, just to kind of fool anyone that might be looking just for the black thing, just for the black gasket. So this one appears to have a gasket, but it looks like it's just for cosmetic purposes. That's my guess. So, non-working dials, suspect gasket, and a thin second hand that is definitely not swooping. This one's a gaff as well. Anyway, those are a few of the things that we would look for when looking at Rolexes, and maybe techniques that you can use when you're negotiating on price for used watches, which I am a strong advocate for. Used or second-hand high-end watches, there's great value. If you know what you're doing, you know how to buy. They, like diamonds, if purchased right, can actually become an investment. The value of them will appreciate over time. But a lot of people get taken advantage of because they don't know what to look for the fake ones. So there's some quick tips. Hopefully they'll be helpful.